I'm Dr. Erika Dillard, founder and CEO of PopCheck Technologies, where we aim to save lives by transforming postoperative care with more efficient and accessible remote monitoring for high-risk patients after surgery. I want to introduce you to Mr. Klein. He's a 60-year-old gentleman who has suffered from 10 years of painful worsening arthritis in his knees. He finally has a knee replacement, and after just 2 days, he's discharged to a rehab facility. Within his first few days there, he notices some new calf pain, which limits his participation with physical therapy, but like most of us would do, he assumes it's normal pain after surgery. 2 days later, the pain worsens, and he now has shortness of breath, even without doing any activity. Now, with these new symptoms, his nurse becomes concerned and notifies his doctor and sends him to the emergency room immediately. There, he discovers these were not normal symptoms, but were actually signs of a clot that had developed in the deep veins of his leg, known as the DVT. And this clot was able to travel to his lungs, causing a pulmonary embolism. Now, though venous clots are one of the most common, potentially life-threatening yet preventable of complications, with no way to monitor for them, a minor situation can quickly escalate into a life-threatening one. Sadly, over 1 million people per year in the U.S. suffer from venous clots, with previous surgery and advanced age being strong risk factors. In fact, incidence increases for those over 75 from 1 in 10,000 to a frightening 1 in 100. As many as 30% of those who experience venous clots may die, oftentimes without warning, carrying a cost burden of over $12 billion annually, largely from unplanned hospital readmissions. When a venous clot develops, causing the obstruction of blood flow, there are a number of signs and symptoms that may be observed or experienced by the patient, including pain, engorged blood vessels, warmth, redness, and swelling. Not all patients report these symptoms, and many of these symptoms can be nonspecific and even misinterpreted, particularly after a procedure like a knee replacement. As such, we selected markers that correlate with the underlying mechanisms contributing to these symptoms that could be measured non-invasively. These include bioimpedance, which measures tissue conductivity caused by changes in fluid volume and oxygen gradient. Photoplethysmography, which utilizes photodetection to measure reflected light from tissues proportional to blood volume. And lastly, strain gauge plethysmography, which measures mechanical strain due to volumetric changes reflective of the ability of veins to rebound from outflow obstruction. As our solution, we are developing an AI-enabled remote monitoring technology in the form of a wearable device that will not only more efficiently prevent clots, but also provide a means to predict them by non-invasively detecting abnormal patterns of physical biomarkers. Once detected, the healthcare team will receive notification through our remote monitoring virtual care platform tailored specifically for the surgical patient so they can determine the next steps in patient management. There are a number of advantages that we provide that set us apart from our competition, but the greatest is that we're the only technology that monitors for clots, and we even provide a means to communicate a patient's change in clotting risk that moves past the traditional risk analysis and incorporates social and economic factors that greatly affect how patients recover after surgery, their risk for developing complications like blood clots, and therefore their overall outcomes. And we communicate this risk through our remote monitoring platform directly to the healthcare team, which encourages a more informed and objective decision in patient management, potentially eliminating delays in care. And by focusing on total joint replacements, patients who are on average over 65 and at very high risk for venous clots will be positioned to capture $357 million of a $3.1 billion available market. We propose value-based gain-sharing revenue model in which we provide our device with remote monitoring subscription at a discounted rate with the agreement to share in savings demonstrated through use of our technology. And beyond post-op patients, there are several other adjacent markets, including peripartum, critical care, and even therapeutic monitoring, where we plan to expand as we scale. We'll focus on physician practices affiliated with large volume acute care hospitals over other settings, as they provide service for over 70% of joint replacements. They allow the greatest accessibility to our diverse key opinion leaders and are most financially impacted when complications occur. Specifically, we'll start with high-volume hospitals servicing over 300 joint replacements per year. And based on data from Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, facilities that demonstrate higher reimbursement penalties after joint replacements are typically located in the Southeast and Midwest, which aligns with our core team's sphere of influence. We'll maximize these relationships as potential sites for pilot studies to provide additional cost and clinical validation. To gain more visibility by stakeholders and potential customers, we'll attend various specialty-focused conferences and trade shows in order to demo our product and highlight use case data demonstrating our value. And lastly, we'll take an approach to foster strategic partnerships with patient-centered and community-based organizations that represent and service many of the populations we hope to benefit the most from our technology. And we have a leadership team with the passion and the expertise to tackle this unmet need. As CEO, I'm a physician scientist having a background in molecular science and 5 years of neurosurgical and neurocritical care training, which gave me firsthand knowledge into the care of high-risk surgical patients. Dr. Bainum, our VP of Engineering, is a trained biomedical and electrical engineer with years of industry experience specializing in electrical cardiac stimulation and neuromodulation. And to supplement our expertise, we've constructed a stellar advisory board of individuals, each having over 20 years experience in the development, commercialization, sales, and investment of medical devices. And with this team, we've secured early investments through the P2P Fellowship and a Friends and Family round. We recently submitted our first international utility patent and are currently iterating our wearable and digital platform prototypes to prepare for our SBIR Phase 1 submission in April to support our feasibility studies. And in the next 2 to 3 years, we look to grow our leadership team, including a full-time CTO, and hitting our regulatory milestones for product launch in 2026. Our strategy moving forward encompasses 3 main areas: intellectual property, as we look to supplement our pending international patent with additional design and software patents. We began discussions around our regulatory strategy in 2021 and are now working on breakthrough device designation and have identified our pathway to market as a de novo Class 2 device. And lastly, through our reimbursement discussions, we've identified relevant CPT codes for our technology, which include remote patient and remote therapeutic monitoring codes. So we thank you for this opportunity to tell you more about PopCheck and our team, and we invite you to join us on our mission to make recovery for all patients stress-free.